All right, guys, here we go. This is one of the best recipes to clear out any fish you may have in your freezer, or to use any, white flaky fish, white bass, striped bass, walleyes, anything like that. It's called zuppa di pesce, but I'm not Italian, so we'll call it fish stew, plain old redneck fish stew. So we've got a screaming hot cast iron dish. We're gonna put a pretty healthy dose of olive oil in there. And then here we go in with some onions, and we'll do a bunch of onions here. Toss those around, let them go for just a minute, and we don't want to cook them a long time. You're going to see I got this Camp Chef stove down on low right now, and it still generates plenty of heat because I had preheated the cast iron really good. So we'll give those about, a minute and a half, something like that, and let them cook down just a little bit. Always a little bit of salt in there as well. That little bit of salt will help pull the moisture out of the onion. Everything's better with garlic, so we're gonna chop some garlic in just a relatively coarse chop as well. Also, this recipe is gonna call for a little bit of parsley. So we're gonna take some of this Italian flat leaf parsley and just give it a coarse chop. All right, give these a quick stir over here. Not trying to necessarily generate a bunch of color, just basically cook them down a little bit and give them just a minute or two. Then we're gonna add a bunch of liquid, and it's gonna cook down just a touch. Tomatoes are always better with a serrated knife. So here we go with the tomatoes. We'll take those down. Coarse chunks again, guys. We don't wanna take any of the stuff out of here. We just want some nice coarse chunks of tomato. So let's go in with our garlic now. And now I think is a good time to add a little bit of the parsley in here, and I'm gonna reserve a little bit of this to put on top of the dish. And I'm also gonna put the tomatoes in. Now we'll give these just a minute as well. By using fresh tomatoes like that, it's gonna add a lot of liquid to the dish. We'll add a pinch more salt for those tomatoes. And I'm also gonna give it a splash of white wine. Just a splash. We got about 10 minutes to rest. So I'll put the lid back on it. All the Camp Chef Dutch ovens come with a little lid holder like that because those lids get extremely hot. So we'll put the lid on there now and let that cook for just a couple of minutes. We'll give it about, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, something like that, and let the flavors kind of melt down, let all that kind of cook together, and then we'll come back and add some more stuff. All right, well, while this is cooking down for a few minutes, guys, it'll give me a chance to talk a little bit. What I basically did was set up an outdoor kitchen on my deck, and so you got a nice view out here, it's great and all, but the Camp Chef Somerset 4 is basically a home-designed item. It's designed to be placed in your house, not necessarily to go with you when you're out camping and all that, like all the other Camp Chef stuff is. So it's 4 burners, each of them is 30,000 BTUs. It's got interchangeable, I've got a grill box over here so I can actually grill. It's got a griddle that'll sit right here if you want a full flat surface, or of course the burners, you can do this. If your Dutch oven has feet, like most of the Camp Chefs do, you can sit down flat in there, or you can use any of your traditional cookware as well. But you get these beautiful evenings like this. It's just so nice to cook outside, and you don't get the smell in your house, and it's just a really nice opportunity. And set up a kitchen like this was not very much at all. It's a matter of a little space to do it. I can also carry this down and put it down in the yard if I don't want to be on the deck. Let's say I'm entertaining with more people, something like that. But setting up your home kitchen space like this that allows you to use your traditional pots and pans as well as have your grill right here, it's just a great opportunity. You can get one at Sportsman's Warehouse. So if you guys are interested in more information about the Somerset series, it comes in a 2, 3, or 4 burner series, as well as all the Dutch ovens and everything else. You can check all of it out at campchef.com. All right, guys, so it's been cooking for a few minutes now. Let's give it a quick check. So we'll pull the lid off there and set that down. And as you can see, we have developed quite a bit of consistency, and everything's just cooking together real nice in there now. And I'm telling you what, it smells real good already. So a few more minutes, we'll add some more liquid, and then we'll add our fish. And now I'm gonna add a bunch of vegetable stock right here, guys. That's about how much liquid I want in the pan, something like that. So it's not a tremendous amount of liquid, but it is definitely enough liquid to let the fish bathe in and cook in. We'll put the lid back on and give it some more time. Anytime I'm gonna add black pepper to a dish, which I do on almost everything, I like to put it in 2 waves. I like to cook some of it into the dish so it's had an opportunity to really cook in, and then I always like to come back and touch it up at the end with however much pepper it might need to finalize the dish. But black pepper takes on a distinctly different flavor if it's had a lot of heat put to it and then you come in and put some fresh on the end. Very similar to the fresh herbs. I'm gonna take some of the reserved flat leaf parsley and throw it in right at the end as well for the same reason. Ice water with salt in it is the best way to hold the fish. It firms the meat up, it makes it really nice and dense, it gives it a good texture, keeps that mushy feeling away. So when this is ready for the fish to be added, I'll drain off the ice water, I'll throw the fish in, we'll put the lid on, let it finish. Okay, so we believe we've given it enough time now for all of our flavors to come together. We're about the 10 or 12 minute mark that it's been simmering like this. And as you can see, it's cooking relatively hard. So I'll give it a little bit of a stir, and it smells fantastic right now. I'll give it a little bit of a stir like that. And then I went ahead and drained the water off the fish just a second ago, and we're gonna go ahead and put all that fish in there. And that's about, I would say it's probably 1.5 pounds, maybe a little more than that of the fillets of all the white bass. So we'll stir these in. Since I put the fish in, again, I'll come in with another little pinch of salt, and I'm doing little small pinches, a little bit at a time. And each time I add a layer of flavor to it. So put the lid back on it, about probably 10 minutes or so. When you can stick a fork in one of those pieces of fish and it just breaks in half, no problem, you'll know it's done. But the bottom line in there, as long as you don't cook it real hard, you're not gonna hurt anything. If you overcook it, the fish will break down. You definitely wanna make sure it's not undercooked, and that won't take long in a Dutch oven like this. It'll retain a ton of heat and moisture, so it should be absolutely delicious. Now I need to go make some crusty bread to go with it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the grill box. This is an extra accessory you can purchase separately, and it goes on top of the Somerset stove. Basically, long story short, it's got the same burners, it's got a diffuser. As you can see, this one's well used because we love this thing. The bottom line, I'm gonna turn it on, then I'll fire it up, and in no time flat, we'll turn this down a little bit. Now I'm just gonna toast off some bread, so I don't need to heat both sides here, but we'll go ahead and put the lid on that and let it get hot. With 30,000 BTUs under each burner, I can put 60,000 BTUs of heat to this. It's got cast iron grates to it, and it will get plenty hot to toast bread in a hurry. Also, for the record, makes killer elk steaks. I've got a baguette right here, and I'm gonna cut it on a bias, about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch thick, and I'll cut off a couple pieces here. And what we're gonna do then is we're gonna brush them a little bit with butter, and we're gonna throw them on that grill, and then we'll basically turn them into garlic bread, and then those will be perfect for dipping on this stew. So we've got these, we'll lay them out flat, no problem, like that. And then I've got right here a mix of melted butter and olive oil, good quality olive oil, by the way. And I'm gonna just brush these lightly with it. I don't need a lot of it on there, just a little, enough to help them crunch up when I put them on that real hot griddle. So we'll brush them down. I find that if you use a mix of olive oil and butter, it's not quite as heavy or rich tasting. A little bit of garlic salt with a little bit of basil in it. Big chunk of Parmesan cheese. I'm just gonna grate a little bit of it here to sprinkle it on the bread. I could grate it right onto the bread or whatever, but since I'm cooking outside, I'll just take an extra second and grate a little bit off. The other thing is I'm gonna put a pinch of it on top of each thing of stew once we get ready to plate it up too, and it's almost done. So I'm pretty sure, guys, that stuff's about done right there. So our fish stew is really close to done. I want to point something out. This is on medium, this one's off. This is 400 degrees, and it's taken less than 5 minutes to get there. If you like to cook on a hot grill, this grill box will get hotter, or at least as hot or hotter than any barbecue grill I've ever dealt with. It's pretty easy to get it in the 700 degree range. So if you want to sear something at really high heat, you can do it. I'm doing something a little more gentle. I'm doing just bread, so I don't need 700 degrees. But we'll take these pieces of bread that we've brushed, and we'll set those right down on there and let them toast real quick. Put a tiny little bit of on this side, just keeps them from being too crunchy, and adds a certain richness to the bread so that when you dip it, it's just absolutely delicious. And one thing about bread, don't burn it. It only takes a minute. Just like that. That's all we want out of it. All right, guys, pretty sure this stuff's done now. It's been cooking about 20 minutes. You don't want to overcook it. It should have plenty of time to have come together and done everything it's supposed to do. So we'll pull the lid off it. And I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say that that's going to taste pretty good. So we'll give it a stir. The fish is definitely coming apart. That's a good sign. We'll grab a bowl and a ladle. I'm going to dish me up some here. Then we're gonna come back and we're gonna hit it with a little bit of this fresh parsley that I reserved, and a big old pinch of this cheese right here, right on top of that. And I think we'll grab this piece of crunchy bread, and that right there is the best reason to get your crankbaits and your jerkbaits and your jigging spoons out and catch a bunch of white bass.